The confirmation arrived with a precision fans had waited years to hear. Not a rumor, not a leak, not a hopeful theory inflated online, but an official announcement that deliberately placed two familiar names side by side once again. Heughan and Caitríona Balfe were confirmed to reunite in a major 2026 blockbuster, and within minutes the fandom felt the shockwave. The word official did more than validate a project. It reopened a chapter many believed had already been sealed. The reaction was immediate, emotional, and unmistakable. Outlander fans did not respond the way audiences typically do to casting news. This was not polite excitement or casual curiosity. It was visceral, loud, and deeply personal, as if something long held in suspension had suddenly snapped back into place. Timelines filled with disbelief, celebration, and stunned silence, often from the same accounts within seconds. What made the announcement hit so hard was how long it had felt impossible. The idea of Sam and Caitríona working together again had lived safely in the realm of fantasy. For years, interviews avoided the subject. Schedules drifted in opposite directions. Both actors deliberately built independent careers beyond the world that first bound them together. Over time, fans trained themselves to stop expecting a reunion, convincing themselves that some collaborations are meant to exist only once. This announcement shattered that quiet acceptance. Context mattered as much as confirmation. This was not a small independent film or a sentimental cameo. The word blockbuster carried weight, signaling scale, commitment, and intent. It suggested that this reunion was not about revisiting the past, but about expanding it into something larger. That distinction shifted the tone instantly. Fans began dissecting every available detail, not to verify whether the reunion was real, but to understand why it was happening now. Why 2026? Why this project? Why bring these two names together again after so much time and distance? The questions were not cynical, but searching, driven by the belief that timing always tells a story. Emotionally, the announcement unlocked memory. Scenes, lines, and moments from Outlander resurfaced across social media, not as simple nostalgia, but as proof of a connection audiences never fully released. The chemistry that once anchored an entire series was suddenly relevant again, no longer confined to the past. Many fans realized they had not moved on as completely as they thought. That realization carried weight. Alongside the excitement, hesitation quietly emerged. Reunions come with risk, especially when the original collaboration has taken on near-mythic status. Could anything new withstand expectations shaped by years of emotional attachment? That tension only intensified the reaction. Industry observers were quick to note how rare this kind of reunion truly is. When actors separate their careers so decisively, returning to a shared spotlight usually demands more than convenience. It requires trust, creative alignment, and confidence that the partnership still has something meaningful to offer. The fact that both Sam and Caitríona signed on implied those conditions had been met, and that implication resonated strongly. The fandom was not simply celebrating the idea of seeing them together again. They were responding to validation. Validation of something they had felt all along. That this partnership was not an accident of timing, but a creative bond strong enough to resurface years later on an even larger stage. That belief fueled the intensity. As the initial shock settled, one truth became clear. This reunion was not framed as a gift to fans alone. It was positioned as a forward-looking move aimed at a global audience far beyond Outlander's original reach. That framing elevated the announcement from emotional event to industry statement, and statements invite scrutiny. By the end of the day, excitement had not faded, but it had evolved into anticipation. Fans understood that something substantial was forming, something that would demand patience and perspective. The confirmation marked a beginning, not a reward. What lingered was a sense of inevitability, as if despite years of separation and silence, this reunion had always been waiting for the right moment. Once the headlines cooled, a more serious conversation took hold. Fans began asking what this reunion represents beyond emotion and memory. A blockbuster reunion years after a defining series is rarely accidental. It signals confidence rather than nostalgia, and belief that the collaboration can exist independently in a very different creative landscape. That belief is what gives this moment its gravity. For Heughan, the decision arrives at a point where his career has clearly expanded beyond a single identity. Years spent diversifying roles and proving range have reframed his past not as a limitation, but as a foundation. For Caitríona Balfe, the timing carries equal weight. Her post-Outlander career has been defined by restraint and selectivity, favoring depth over exposure. Choosing to reunite now, in a large-scale production, suggests creative confidence rather than reliance on familiarity. Together, those choices tell a cohesive story. Industry analysts have noted that reunions fail when they lean too heavily on memory alone. Modern audiences are unforgiving of projects built purely to recreate a feeling. Positioning this as a 2026 blockbuster rather than a sentimental callback signals ambition. Within the fandom, excitement gradually transformed into anticipation mixed with anxiety. Debates emerged over whether the chemistry that once defined an era could translate into something new without repeating itself. Some feared the emotional weight of Outlander would overshadow the project. Others argued that time and distance are precisely what give the reunion strength. Both perspectives hold truth. What makes this moment volatile is the shared history between the actors and their audience. Outlander was not simply watched. It was lived with. This project does not merely invite viewers to watch again. It asks them to re-engage. Re-engagement always carries risk. Strategically, the reunion also reflects a broader industry shift. Studios increasingly rely on established chemistry to anchor ambitious projects in uncertain markets. Familiar partnerships offer stability while stories evolve. In that context, Sam and Caitríona are not a comfort choice, but a calculated creative asset. That distinction matters. As details remain carefully withheld, attention has shifted from whether the project will succeed to how it will redefine both careers. Fans are no longer seeking emotional closure. They are watching for transformation, growth, complexity, a partnership that reflects who these actors are now, not who they were a decade ago. By choosing to reunite under the banner of something deliberately ambitious, Sam and Caitríona have accepted that scrutiny. This is not a return to safety. It is a re-entry with higher stakes and greater pressure. As the announcement fades from the news cycle, its implications continue to expand. This reunion is no longer just about two actors sharing the screen again. It is about legacy, timing, and creative confidence intersecting at a moment when both careers have matured beyond their origins. Fans are not watching history repeat itself. They are watching it attempt to evolve. And evolution is never comfortable. What lingers is not nostalgia, but expectation. The kind that settles slowly and refuses to disappear. This reunion has reopened a door many assumed was closed, without promising what waits beyond it. That uncertainty is precisely what keeps attention fixed. Because when something feels both familiar and unfinished, it becomes impossible to look away.